So Justice League wasn't exactly what everybody was expecting. It didn't make as much money as people were hoping, and it generally has left most people unsure of what's going to happen with the future of the movie set in the DC universe. So let's just fix it. I mean, yeah, it's one of those videos where I act like I'm in charge of WB and what I would do if I was calling the shots. So, first of all, I wouldn't reboot everything. I think Wonder Woman was still a commercial success. Not just a commercial and critical success. And doing Wonder Woman 2 is still probably needs to be their main focus, as in terms of projects that they haven't yet really started yet doing. And I said yet twice, but whatever. Don't say that. Also, of course, they have Aquaman, which is already shot. I mean, they're going to do probably reshoots for it, I'm assuming. The one thing I would try to avoid, and that's been a problem with Warner Brothers and with these previous films, is overreacting to people's criticisms of previous films and like putting that into like the reshoots. And Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and Justice League all had those problems. The problem was, the executives, reacting and saying, okay, people said this, so we need to, change everything. It didn't help. So my main goal with releasing Aquaman is to do exactly what Warner Brothers said they were going to do and focus more on director-driven films. James Wan is directing Aquaman. Let it be James Wan's Aquaman. That's the one thing Warner Brothers can be that I think will set it apart from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is that they can have films that are more separate and feel more unique to that director. And I think that's the thing that sort of already happened with Wonder Woman versus Justice League. A lot of people were speculating based on Wonder Woman's performance that would mean better results for Justice League. And I think that's partly a mistake, because even though Justice League had Wonder Woman, it was not done in the same way, and I think it wasn't really marketed to promote specifically Wonder Woman over anybody else. And the thing that people keep, I feel, ignoring is, okay, they keep saying, I hear over and over, people keep saying that, like, what worked with the Avengers is that we built the characters up, we gave these characters depth, so that, when they met together, it meant something. I don't think, really, from a marketing standpoint, it's so much that, the characters have depth or, anything like that, because I think you can build that up in a single film, and it can still work. Say, Guardians of the Galaxy introduced an entire team of people, and it still worked. It's not like you have to build a whole character in a single film for it to be able to have a team of characters. What worked with the Avengers was you had Iron Man introduced, you had Thor introduced, and you had Captain America. To a lesser to the extent, Hulk. I would say pretty much every comic fan was excited about Hulk being there, but I think from probably speaking from a general audience standpoint and a marketing standpoint, it was more about Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man. So you had these three characters that were in films that were well received, especially Iron Man. The first Thor and the first Captain America, maybe looking back, I think a lot of people look back on those films and say, oh, they weren't really that great. But they were definitely well received. And so after you have those three films come out, and then you say, okay, you had these three characters, they're basically leading role characters. What if they meet? That's what the Avengers was. And so the idea of, back to what I was talking about way before I lost my trail of thought. Wonder Woman being in Justice League doesn't mean as much because the whole idea of Justice League is the same as the Avengers. You know, the Avengers is, okay, we're going to have a movie that has Iron Man, Thor, Captain America together, interacting. How will they interact? It's going to be cool. It's so interesting. That's what crossovers, what, you know, team-ups are about. Like seeing how these characters interact, you know, see how they fight each other, see how they get along or don't get along. And so that's the thing with Justice League. We already kind of had a team-up with Batman v Superman, which was not necessarily that well received. You know, they sort of got thrown in there, and at the end, with Batman, Wonder Woman, and what's his name, Superman. And yeah, it wasn't that well received. So now you go into Justice League. Sure, you have Wonder Woman, who has gotten, who a lot of people are excited to see, but I think especially after Batman v Superman, people weren't as excited to see Wonder Woman in a movie with other people, because they got to see, people were excited after Batman v Superman about Wonder Woman because they knew there was going to be a Wonder Woman solo movie, so we would get to see more of that character. The idea that people would be more excited for Justice League after seeing Wonder Woman because they're excited about Wonder Woman doesn't really make sense, because after seeing Wonder Woman, it's like saying, okay, good, we got to see more of Wonder Woman, which we wanted after Batman v Superman, and now we get to see a movie where there's less Wonder Woman, and portrayed by the same guy. Like, even if you want to get into an argument about the directors for Justice League, you know, the whole Snyder versus Whedon aspect, I think enough of the general audience knew that Justice League was being directed by the same guy who directed Batman v Superman. And it definitely shows in the imagery. So a lot of people probably went into, I mean, I don't have any statistics or polls on this, but I would assume that a lot of people, more people than you would think, went into Justice League knowing, or didn't go into Justice League really, knowing that it was being directed by the same guy who did Batman v Superman, and that this portrayal of Wonder Woman was not going to be the same. This wasn't going to be the same Wonder Woman that they loved in her solo movie. And that was going to be less Wonder Woman, obviously, because it's not a Wonder Woman movie. It's a Justice League movie. And also from the trailers didn't really try to sell that this is a Wonder Woman movie. Which you wouldn't, why would they? Because this is a Justice League. But that could have been one thing that maybe Warner Brothers should have tried to play up after the success of Wonder Woman, but too late now. Okay, so like I was saying, don't interview with Aquaman. Just let James Wan do what he does. For reshoots, if you know, there's just the normal reshoots. Don't do any Warner Brothers like thing where you know, rewrite the whole third of the movie. Don't do a Disney, because Disney already does that, and you're Warner Brothers. Try to be different. Just, okay. So, we have Aquaman coming out. We have Wonder Woman 2. Don't go right for Justice League 2. I don't think they're going to. I think that what Warner Brothers needs to do is really focus on the characters, the individual characters, before going for a team-up. Because like I was saying with Avengers, what got people really excited was you had 3 well-received characters in solo movies, and then putting them together in one movie. With Justice League, you had one character who had been in a well-received movie, Wonder Woman, and Batman, who had been in Batman v Superman. So he hadn't been in a well-received solo movie. People may have liked his portrayal, but I think it was one of the things that, especially further away from the release of the film, got more and more controversial, especially in the aspect of Batman killing people. I think immediately following the release of the film, there was much more feeling that Ben Affleck was doing a really good job as Batman. And especially leading up before the release of Justice League, you had the whole more and more rumors about whether or not Ben Affleck would be continuing as not Superman, Batman. But yeah, what they need to focus on is solo movies to build up to the Justice League again. So after Aquaman and Wonder Woman, they should do a Flash movie. Now, if one of the things I think of how they approach the Flash movie, whether or not to do Flashpoint or not, really depends on actor availability. Whether or not they're going to have Ben Affleck as Batman, because I think if Ben Affleck's out, which is not confirmed but is a major possibility, and a lot of people are saying that's probably what's going to happen with the non-success of Justice League and Batman v Superman. Yeah, they should do Flashpoint. They should have I can't remember his name. I'm gonna look this up. Thomas Wayne, Batman v Superman actor, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. What Flashpoint should do, if you're going to go the route of getting rid of Ben Affleck, okay, really, there's 3 different routes here. So I'm going to explore 2 routes for when, if Ben Affleck's not around. The first route is Ben Affleck agrees to do just a tiny bit of stuff, and then he's going to be out. Okay, so you start Flashpoint. Maybe you show something of how the universe is before having Flash go back in time and mess everything up. And then maybe in that you could show that Bruce Wayne is Ben Affleck, or something along those lines. And then you have Flashpoint happen. Flash is in the Flashpoint universe, and the Batman is, now I have the name, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And you do that whole storyline. And then you have Flash come back into the real world, or fix the timeline or whatever, however you want to do it, and he notices some things are different, and you have a different actor as Batman, or Batman is just not Batman. Ben Affleck. The second possibility is Ben Affleck is just gone. He's not going to do any more movies at all. So, which maybe might work better with this Flashpoint possibility than not. What you could do, what I would do, is you do Flashpoint. Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne as Batman. You have Flash changes the universe. Everything is different, and everything's the same. Basically, it gives Warner Brothers a chance to tweak everything they want to tweak, and then keep moving. So you have Flash come back, and even though I'm kind of in 2 minds with this, because I kind of feel like if you just have a different Batman as a different Batman, it could maybe work with the ending, because I wouldn't want to keep the same ending of Flash giving the letter from Thomas Wayne to Bruce Wayne, but I feel like it won't really be the same impact if it's a different actor. It'll be, because especially if we don't see that actor already, we're just going to be going, wait, who is this? Okay, Batman's different. Okay. It's not going to have the impact you want that moment to have of, Flash giving basically this note that is from Bruce Wayne's father. It's not going to have the same kind of emotional impact that you want that moment to have. And so I guess you could do that. You could do it without that. And then just somehow show a scene where, okay, Batman looks different, but this is because everything's different. And then, not everything, but some things are different because Barry Allen messed up the timeline. Another possibility, which I thought of, which I think might work a little bit better. The second possibility is that you could have Flash come back at the end of Flashpoint, and Batman's a different actor, but it's not just a different it's not just a different actor, it's a different person. It's not Bruce Wayne. And you could have it in this version of reality, the post-Flashpoint reality, Bruce Wayne is dead. Somehow, I don't know. You could have it that Dick Grayson is now Batman. And then you could do a solo movie with Batman with this new Batman. This new Dick Grayson Batman. Which I think we could open up some interesting possibilities. For one thing, we haven't had a Batman movie without Bruce Wayne. So it would be different. I think one of the things comic book movies are suffering is the sense of repetition. You know, people talk about comic book fatigue, but it's also because we keep seeing the same stories over and over again. I think seeing a Batman movie where it's not Bruce Wayne, it doesn't follow the same kind of things we've been seeing over and over again, would be interesting. And also, in some ways, it could follow up, at least spiritually, in certain ways from certain movies in the past. Specifically, I'm thinking The Dark Knight Rises. Even though it wouldn't be set in the same timeline or the same universe as The Dark Knight Rises, it could be following up on the idea of what if you have somebody else taking up the mantle of Batman. The other thing is, you could also follow up on the tease in Batman v Superman of a dead Robin, specifically of Jason Todd coming back as the Red Hood. Now, usually, this story has been done with Bruce Wayne as Batman, but I think it would also be interesting to do it with Dick Grayson as Batman, because then you have two former Robins going up against each other. So that would be interesting, and also would kind of fit in the idea of this Batman, not this specific, but the Batman in this universe is older anyway. So to have a newer Batman would kind of fit in better with Superman, even though it screws up the whole dynamic. But I think it would be different, and it would also be different on a way for fans of the comic books, because they wouldn't necessarily know what to expect. So, okay, to update my list, we have Aquaman, Wonder Woman 2, I'm saying Flashpoint, with what I was talking about. Then do Batman, with Dick Grayson as Batman. I would say throw Cyborg in there. Well, probably in between Flashpoint, probably before Flashpoint. I think Cyborg is probably one of the less fleshed out characters of the new movie, but I think if Warner Brothers wants to do a director-driven universe, they need to find if they need to find a director with a unique vision to do a Cyborg movie, and then let them do that. I'm not really sure what kind of movie that would be, because I don't really know that much about Cyborg outside of the Justice League movie and some Justice League comics. I'm not even really a Teen Titans fan, so I don't know what else to say, but they should do it, because I'm interested enough from what I saw in the Justice League movie. So, Cyborg. And then, well, okay, and then the other thing they need to do before they can do Justice League 2 is a Superman movie. Now, I would also place this after Flashpoint. Basically, after Flashpoint, that's when I would do the Superman, the new Superman movie and the new Batman movie. The new Batman movie would probably have a new actor. I don't know if Henry Cavill is going to still be on after Justice League. I think if he is, great, just do a Superman movie. If you can't, if they have to get somebody else, replace him in the same way with Flashpoint. I don't, yeah. And just change the tone completely from what it was before. It's post-Flashpoint, so that's your excuse for changing everything a little bit. But don't reboot the universe. Keep the other characters as you can, if you can. Lois Lane, Perry White, keep everything as much as close as possible. Put in Jimmy Olsen because yeah, I didn't love that moment. And the Batman v Superman extended edition, it's kind of a dick move, Snyder. But yeah, and it would be basically after Flashpoint, you'd be going back and trying to setting up the Superman and Batman movies the way it needs to be. Because, as I keep saying, let's go back to the Avengers and see what they did. They set up Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man in 3 different movies. Who are the core members of the Avengers, not just in the comics, but more specifically in the Avengers movie? Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man. Okay, now let's look at Justice League. Who are the core members of the Justice League usually? Everybody says the Trinity. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Who are the core members in the Justice League movie? Batman and Wonder Woman? I mean, you can say what you want about the end product or what happens in the movie. The way it's marketed and the way going in people's what they're going to think about it, Superman was not marketed as being a core member of the Justice League. That's just the way it was, and he needs to be. And not only that, you're going into a Justice League movie where a lot of people didn't know if they would like the portrayal of Superman, because let's face it, a lot of people didn't like the portrayal of Superman in the last 2 movies it was in. So yeah, Superman, you need to have portrayal of those 3 characters that people know they liked, and that's the biggest problem. Other than Wonder Woman, the Justice League had a lot of elements that people weren't so sure about or they didn't like in the past, and Justice League tried to course correct, but in a lot of ways it also didn't show that in the marketing. It didn't show that it was doing that, and also in the ways it did try to correct, upset the people who were not a fan of that Whedon-esque dialogue and that way of doing it, because it wasn't what the vision Zack Snyder had. So, to sum up, do Aquaman, do Wonder Woman 2, maybe do Cyborg at that point, probably, somewhere between, before you do Flashpoint. Do Flashpoint, and then do, basically, post-Flashpoint, Superman and Batman leading into Justice League 2. And the thing is, you need to set up for Justice League 2. I think you should go with what they teased at the end of Justice League and go with the Injustice League, or the Supervillain League, or whatever they call themselves. I think one version of them is the Injustice League, which I'm going to go with that because Lex Luthor specifically says a league of our own. I don't know what that impression was supposed to be. It was not right at all. Anyway, I would go with that. I would tease. I would have actually don't just tease the villains. Have several of the villains in the solo movies. You know, you have the Reverse Flash in Flashpoint, and then have them show up in Justice League 2. Have I don't know all the Injustice members. You have the Superman, Lex Luthor, but yeah, tease the different elements, have the villains show up, have a villain in Cyborg, who then shows up in Justice League 2, and then for Wonder Woman, who also, and then shows up later, and then, yeah, that's how we do it.